Jeff Bezos is here. He is the founder and CEO of Amazon.com, the country's largest online retailer. The company's electronic reading device, a Kindle, has sold in the millions since its debut in 2007. Amazon recently announced that it is now selling more digital books and hardcover books for the first time in its history. Although sales of the Kindle continue to grow, the device faces increased competition from tablet computers such as the Apple iPad. Last week, Amazon announced its second quarter profit rose 45% from the same period last year, and its revenue grew 41%. Amazon stock has since fallen because analysts expected even greater earnings performance. I am pleased to have Jeff Bezos back at this table. Here is the deal. This is not a commercial for a Kindle, because when there are new products from any manufacturer, when there are new ideas in health or science, when there are new movies and new books, we are very pleased to see them in your interest. Having said that, my first question to Jeff Bezos is, what have you brought?
Well, your instincts are very good, Charlie. This is a new Kindle.
Yes.
It is. We're taking pre-orders starting right now as this
is like an official announcement.
This is an official announcement, and this new Kindle is 21% smaller in terms of area, even though it has the same display size.
Right.
It is 15% lighter. It weighs only 8.7 ounces, so you can hold it and read for long periods of time with one hand. It has a month of battery, and it has 50% better contrast on the screen. So this is a electronic ink display. It's readable in bright sunlight, so you can read it in the comfort of your home or poolside.
Yeah. Now, does it cost more or less than existing Kindle?
$189. That's the same as the existing Kindle. So we're keeping the price the same, even though it's got all of the improvements in terms of battery life.
Storage capacity is less or more?
Storage capacity is double. You can carry 3,500 books with you on this device.
3,500 books.
3,500 books. And
that's a summertime of reading, isn't it?
That's half the news. The other one is we have an identical device. We're also starting to take pre-orders for it right now, and that's Kindle Wi-Fi. And it's identical to this one, except it doesn't have our Go Anywhere free 3G wireless. And the Kindle Wi-Fi is $139.
So that's the cheapest Kindle you can buy anywhere, just Wi-Fi only.
Wi-Fi only, $139, but it's still got the 50% improved electronic ink contrast, readable in bright daylight, lightweight. If it's even a little lighter, it's 8.5 ounces.
In the end, when people say the iPad or some other tablet device that allows you to read is a Kindle killer, Jeff Bezos says what?
Well, I get this all the time, and first of all, I can say Kindle is succeeding. It's a very different product, but it's a little bit. I can give you an example. If I came to you, Charlie, and I said, Charlie, I love your show. We got to sex it up. We got, the Charlie Rose Show.
You've got my attention.
We need fast cuts. Vicious arguments between your guests. We need to really sex up your show. You would say rightly to me, Jeff, I love you, man, but you don't understand my audience. We have a cerebral conversation here. It's what we do, and it's how we're differentiated.
Right.
And so, that's
our place.
And that's what happens when people come to me and they say, Jeff, you got to have full motion video color on the Kindle. I say, why? You think Hemingway is going to pop more in color? So we're doing a particular thing, and so when somebody says to me, you need to add the full motion video and all these things that the iPad has, I say, well, you know what? You don't understand my audience. I love you, but you don't understand my audience.
And you don't understand how many Kindles I've sold.
Well, that's true. It's also working. That's the other argument I can use to rebut that.
But the bottom line for you is that for reading, people want a designated device.
Yeah, they want a purpose-built device that's where no trade-offs have been made, where every single design decision as you're walking down the process has been made to optimize for reading. The number one thing that people are doing on their iPad right now, if you look at the rankings, they're playing a game called Angry Birds, where you throw birds at pigs and the pigs blow up. The number one thing that people are doing on their Kindle right now is reading Stieg Larsson.
But there's an application for a Kindle on an iPad.
Absolutely, and also on Android, also on the iPhone, also on the Mac, also on the PC, also on your BlackBerry. So our approach is when you buy a Kindle book, we want you, it's buy once, read everywhere. So you buy that Kindle book, and we have a technology called WhisperSync, So we'll synchronize your place, and you can read a little bit on your BlackBerry, read a little bit on your iPad. Then if you're going to have a 2-hour reading session, get the Kindle and get a device that is really optimized for long-form reading.
The argument being made for the Kindle, and you make it as well as anyone else, is that it's easy to read, that your eyes will tire because of backlighting displays from an iPad.
It's like reading, when you read, what's the first thing, when you have to read a long document on a computer, what's the first thing you do? You print it out.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Because when you're looking into a backlit display, which is the traditional LCD kinds of computer displays, and it's what you have on smartphones and tablet computers and so on, the contrast, the light, it's like reading with somebody shining a flashlight in your eyes. And so the electronic paper display, like what you're holding there now, is a completely revolutionary kind of display. It looks nothing like a computer display, and still most people have never seen a electronic paper display. They think of a computer display. But when you see one of these, you do a double take because it's so different.
When the iPad came along, the price of books made publishers happy on the iPad. Books here $9.95, books on the iPad $13.95, I think. Tell me the impact of all that.
Well, we have 630,000 books that you can read that we sell in the Kindle store. That doesn't even include the 1.8 million public domain, out of copyright, pre-1923 books. But of those 630,000 books, 510,000 of them are $9.99 or less. Same thing, if you look at the New York Times bestseller list, there are about 112 titles on the New York Times bestseller list. In the Kindle store, 81 of those 112 titles are $9.99 or less. So
and is there a lag time between the time of publication date and when you can buy them for the Kindle?
No, not anymore. A few publishers experimented with that, and readers really rebelled against it.
Sort of like the release of movies.
Yes, that idea of windowing. And the readers really rebelled against it, and publishers aren't doing that anymore.
So you are counting on the fact that people want to have an extra device for reading. And therefore you are opting to make it smaller, easier, and thinner. And
you got it. And at $139, and cheaper, at $139, you know, people are going to have, I think we live in a multi-device world. You're going to have a tablet computer, like an iPad or one of its competitors. You're going to have a smartphone. You're going to have a laptop. You know, the tablet computer isn't going to displace the laptop, because there are times when you want to write a long memo or a long email message or an article or whatever.
As someone said, the iPad's for receiving things, not sending things.
Exactly. And
except for email.
And likewise, if you want to sit down and read a 300-page book,
or create things,
the Kindle is the perfect device to sit back and read a 300-page book. And by the way, at $139, you know, some people spend more than that for their sunglasses, Charlie. I mean, it's not an expensive device.
Having said all of that, the guy who's staring at you is Steve Jobs, who has a phenomenal track record with the iPhone and the iPad. Are you worried at all about this? Because
let me give you a little broader context. If I put not just my Kindle hat on, but my Amazon hat on. If you look at tablet computers, we're very excited about tablet computers, definitely including the iPad, because they have great web browsers and they make it easier for people to shop at Amazon. Yes. So, you know, every internet-connected device, that's going to be an incremental tailwind for our business. And we're seeing lots of traction with the Android smartphones, with the iPhone, with the iPad. People are using these devices to shop on Amazon.
But and are you here to also say that it is not all that certain that iPad will dominate that tablet market, that their competition will be good in the same way that the Droid X is beginning to make some progress because of the Android operating system?
Before the end of this year, there'll be many tablet computers, and you know, the Apple with the iPad is going to continue to do extremely well, and I hope they do. We don't see from where I sit, all the data that I have, the evidence is very clear that Kindle is a companion to tablet computers, laptops. It's not an either-or decision. Well, we have this feature called WhisperSync, where you can read on one device. And one of the strong usage patterns that we see is people will read on their Kindles, and they read on their, you know, smartphones, tablet computers, and so on. So we're seeing that people are moving between these devices, and it's one of the reasons that we are so focused on buy once, read everywhere.
Most people use their Kindle when they're traveling, or they use it at home, they use it where?
Yes, I think this new $139 Kindle is going to be used by people who travel less, people who want to be at home, or at least they know.
Because they have Wi-Fi at home.
Because they have Wi-Fi at home. And they can also load it up. I mean, you can carry 3,500 books on the thing, so you can put a big library on your Kindle and you can travel that way. You don't need your wireless connection. But the 3G Kindle, which is the $189 Kindle, that one works in 100 countries wirelessly. You don't have to find a Wi-Fi hotspot. So if you travel a lot, I think you're going to prefer the 3G.
Especially if you travel
Kindle,
internationally.
especially if you travel internationally. Your newspapers are waiting for you when you wake up in the morning. They follow you around the world.
You'll still have that on this device,
Yep.
or not?
It's all,
so all the things you get on any other Kindle you can get here.
You got it.
Deciding on the size, how did you rate what went into the research and development to saying this is the right size rather than the size of a BlackBerry or an iPhone?
Well, we did a lot of work. You know, the Kindle's only been in the market for 33 months, which is astonishing to me because we've seen very rapid transition now. You know, selling more Kindle books than hardcover books. Have sold millions of these devices. But we worked on the Kindle for 3 years before we launched it. So we've been working on this device for 6 years, even though it's only been in the market for a short time. And when one of the things that we did was look at, you know, kind of paperback formats, mass market paperbacks. And we're trying to find the smallest size that we thought would really be conducive to long form reading. Mm-hmm. So we've always been trying to make sure most of the devices that have been developed by we humans over the last couple of decades have tilted the world toward short form reading. So, you know, internet connected computers and smartphones and so on are great for short email messages, they're great for blog posts, they're not great for 300-page books. And so we were focused, we wanted to find a display size that we thought would work, whether it's a novel or a long history or a biography, and that's the size we can. We also have a bigger Kindle, which has a 9.7 inch.
It's a tablet size.
Yeah, and that one is better for highly structured books, books that might have a lot of diagrams or what have you.
When will you have color?
Well, color is electronic ink, you know, the sort of electronic paper reflective
electronic
display.
ink was the thing that made this possible because you wanted to create the sense it was as much like the feel of a book as possible.
Well, and we really want it to have no eye strain. That's the key. It wasn't. We're not just trying to imitate the book. There was one feature of the book we definitely wanted to imitate, which is the book's incredibly elegant ability to get out of the way, to disappear so that you can enter the author's world.
See the story.
And part of that disappearing act that a book does is it does not cause you eye strain the same way a typical computer monitor does. So that's why we chose that electronic ink display. Color, I've seen, but it's still in the laboratory and it's not ready for prime time.
But how many devices do we want to carry with us?
I think you're going to have a lot of devices.
Do you really?
I do. I think you're going to at least 4 or 5, and some of them may not even be invented.
Okay, but you're not.
We're not trying to create an experience.
Right.
We want the author to create the experience. You know, if you're gonna read Nabokov or Hemingway, or what do you want us create an experience for? That's not our job. Our job is to provide the convenience so that you can get books in 60 seconds, so that you can carry your whole library with you, so that you don't get hand strain, so the device doesn't get hot in your hands, so that it doesn't cause eye strain, so that the battery life lasts a month, so you never get battery anxiety.
The battery life of this is what?
It's 1 month.
1 month.
So all of those things that's our job. Our job is to design a perfect device for reading. You know, people say, why don't you add a touch screen? Well, the reason we don't add a touch screen is because when we're going down that decision path, we say, okay, a touch screen, and the current technology for touch screens it's called capacitive touch. It's a layer that goes on top of that display.
Right.
It adds glare. The first thing that you do when you add a touch display is you add a little extra layer of glass or plastic and a little bit of glare. So it's very easy from an engineering point of view to add a touch screen, but it's not the right thing if you're making no compromises. And that's our point of view on this. We want to build a device that's uncompromised for reading. And guess what? our approach is working.
I mean, clearly, as you said, millions, but why are you so secretive? You and I have had this discussion before.
On the number?
People have written about our discussion, as you know, from Ken O'Leary's story.
I'll tell you why
about
we are. We are secretive about the number because we think it's competitively useful. There are other people who, if they're going to start planning their manufacturing lines and their supply chains, it's a helpful data point for them to know how many of these we're selling. When we just say millions, that's not a good data point for them.
It's an increasing part of the overall revenue of Amazon.
Yes. It's an increasing part. It's still relatively small. Amazon's retail business is a large business, and this is, even though this is a big business in its own right at this point, relative to Amazon's retail business, it's still...
Is this the entry point for you in terms of the consumer electronics business?
We are totally focused on reading. So sometimes I get asked, well, are you guys going to make a tablet computer?
Exactly.
And go head on against the iPad instead of this. And the answer is, or in addition to it, and the answer is no, and I'll tell you why. We don't want to do a Me Too product. But before the end of this year, there will be at least 30 iPad competitors. Next year there may be 75. So what, do we want to be number 76? How is that going to help anything?
Well, what if you were better? No. I mean, I would argue that if you could create something better than the iPad, then there's a market for you. I mean, if you can build a better mousetrap.
If you can have a very differentiated product, yes. But what we don't want to do is build a Me Too product.
Right.
And this
is not a Me Too product.
Is not a Me Too product. It's completely differentiated. It does things that a tablet computer with an LCD display could never do.
Are you going to be hurt by publishers more not wanting to sell to you, or is your volume so significant that publishers always want to make a deal with you?
Well, one of the reasons that this is working is because we have been able to build such a big catalog of electronic books. It's by far the largest electronic bookstore in the world, and it has the lowest prices. And we're going to keep up with that. Just 33 months ago, we had 90,000 titles available for Kindle, and today we have 630,000. So we've gone from 90 to 630,000 in just 33 months. And I predict we'll make that kind of progress again over the next 33 months, if not more. Our vision is every book ever written, in print or out of print,
available on the Kindle
within 60 seconds. One of the other features that we have, which I don't think gets talked about enough, but I can tell you that our customers really appreciate it, is our worry-free archive. So you can delete with abandon on this device. If you see a book on there that you're not reading right now, you want to delete it off the device, you can just delete it, because we keep a personal archival copy for you on our servers, and you can re-download it at any time.
Your goal is to be the largest online, and you are, retailer in the world. Beyond that, what's the goal?
Well, our mission is Earth's most customer-centric company.
But I don't know what that means.
Well, I'll give you an example. Right after World War II, Morita-san, the guy who founded Sony, set as the mission for Sony that they were going to make Japan known for quality. And you have to remember, this was a time when Japan was known for cheap copycat products. And Morita-san said, he didn't say we're going to make Sony known for quality. He said we're going to make Japan known for quality. He chose a mission for Sony that was bigger than Sony. And when we talk about Earth's most customer-centric company, we have a similar idea in mind. We want other companies to look at Amazon and see us as a standard bearer for obsessive focus on the customer, as opposed to obsessive focus on the competitor. So that's one of the reasons we work on differentiated products. It's one of the reasons we take a long-term viewpoint on things. You can't really do the right thing for customers if you're short-term oriented. And if you're going to invent new things, you've also got to be able, and this goes along with long-term orientation, you've got to be willing to endure a lot of criticism. If you're going to put, Kindle is a good example, if you're going to put your back into reinventing a 500-year-old industry, some folks are going to get ornery.
It was also feared at one time, those people who had your stock, that once Walmart, for example, got serious about being online, they were going to blow you away. Why didn't that happen?
Well, I think it's because we did a good job for our customers. So, you go back in time and we've been called Amazon.toast.
Right, I remember.
Amazon.con, Amazon.bomb. This is all like in the first 3 years of our existence.
Sure, yeah.
And that's part of what I'm talking about, the willingness to be misunderstood. If you're going to do things, we lay out what we're doing and we tell people, how we think about things. Like I'm saying to people, the iPad is not a Kindle killer. I'm very clear about that, but it doesn't keep people from writing that. And I'm very clear about why. It's a totally differentiated device. It's $139. Works in bright sunlight. You can read with one hand. It's so light and the battery lasts a month. For $139, why wouldn't you want a device like that?
Okay, but let me go back to the Walmart issue, though.
Yeah.
What was it that made you able to sustain a challenge from the world's greatest retailer?
Obsessive customer focus on...
But how do you focus on the customer better than they focus on the customer?
They're
pretty good at focusing on the customer, too.
But we're very differentiated in how we do it. And so our approach, if you think about our retail business, which I think is what you're asking about here, there are really three things that we know are critical.
That's the heart and soul of your business, isn't it?
And especially relative to the Walmart question, I think that's the key. It's selection, low prices, and fast, convenient, reliable delivery. So that the shipment side. And so we have...
Wait. So Walmart doesn't have low prices, fast, and convenient delivery?
I would claim that Amazon has much broader selection. In many cases, if I don't want to be overly bold in my claim, but the online model gives us significant cost structure advantages that lets us have even lower prices than physical stores.
Selling online?
Well, sometimes they do have umbrella problems sometimes where they don't want to compete against themselves online versus offline.
But a Walmart, with all of the volume that it buys, its purchasing power, therefore gives it the ability to offer lower prices. Well, doesn't that give them an advantage they ought to be able to translate? Because their purchasing power is bigger than your purchasing power, is it not?
I think in a lot of the product categories, that ship sailed a long time ago.
Meaning what?
Meaning that we have
the purchasing power to compete with anybody.
We have the volume
better.
Relationships with suppliers. That playing field has been leveled.
Okay.
If you'd asked me that question, 10 or 15 years ago, I'd have agreed with you that
that was the challenge you had overcome.
But even then, our profitability is not our customer's problem. We don't take the point of view that we're going to price products, at a particular margin for ourselves. We say we're going to price products competitively, and if that means on that product that we lose money, that's okay, because we need to take care of the customer and earn trust, and we'll figure out over time. And if we find we can't ever make money with that product, we'll stop selling it. But we're not going to make customers pay for any of our inefficiencies, if you see what I'm saying.
Did you lose money on the Kindle?
Every new business that we have ever invested in, it has taken years. Most businesses have either no impact on our financials for the first 5 to 7 years, or a negative impact on our financials for the first 5 to 7 years. And we do a lot of new things. The company is very healthy financially. We're doing very well, and it's an outcome of customer obsession. So, when we were Amazon.toast, that was because Barnes & Noble had, we only had 100 and, when we were declared Amazon.toast, I think we had 150 employees. Barnes & Noble had 30,000 employees. And somebody wrote an article that said, Amazon has had a great 2-year run, but now the big boys have shown up, and they're going to steamroll them. And, we had a all-hands meeting. I called all 150 employees together, and I said, look, because everybody's worried about it. Every employee has read the Amazon.toast article. Every mother of every employee has read the Amazon.toast article and has called and said,
your father and mother who live here in New York.
Yeah, are you okay? Yeah. And so we had an all-hands meeting, and I said, look, you should wake up worried, terrified every morning. But don't be worried about our competitors, because they're never going to send us any money anyway. Let's be worried about our customers and stay heads down focused. And so these are big, most of these are big markets. Another way to answer your question about competitors and Walmart is to say, look, they can succeed fabulously, and it won't stop us from succeeding. These retail markets are huge. So it often doesn't make sense for us to think of it as a pitched battle. You know, sometimes people think about business as it's kind of like a sporting event. There's a winner and a loser.
It's not a zero-sum game.
It usually isn't. I'm sure there are cases where, but most often, industries succeed. So I can tell you, I think e-commerce is succeeding. And the way we think about it, nobody else has to fail for us to do well. I think ebooks is like that. I think there are going to be many winners. I think ebooks is going to be a huge industry.
Well, there are many competitors now. I mean, you've got Barnes & Noble is one of them, Sony is another now,
and
Apple is another.
But I have a list of 50 competitors that we could walk through. I mean, you know, all over the world doing different things. And our focus is going to be, you know what, we'll try to pay attention to those competitors, but we're not going to obsess over them. We're going to obsess over readers, and that because those are the people who are buying that device. And we're going to make it, and it's not just a business for us, it's a mission for us. And missionaries build better products.
What is Jeff Bezos thinking about today in 2010 that we might not know anything about that he thinks may be a reality in 2013 or 2015?
Well,
where is the...
One of the things is the Amazon Web Services business. Now, there's a business that probably
this is Amazon Cloud stuff?
Yes. And there's a business that's growing. You know, it's in a hyper-growth phase. It's already a significant business. That's a business that probably is not getting as much attention as it deserves.
Is there a dominant player in the cloud business now?
Well, Amazon, in the infrastructure part of it, which is the part that we play in, Amazon is by far the leader.
Right.
You know, it started mostly with startup companies, but now it's big enterprises adopting. The best analogy I can give you for this is, it's like the electric grid. So instead of, you know, right now, big companies build their own data centers, and they buy their own servers, and they put it in. It's a lot of CapEx. There's a lot of price of admission. You have to, if you're going to operate a data center, you have to do it well. But it doesn't differentiate you from your competitors. It doesn't. It's just a price of admission. And so what we do at Amazon Web Services is we sell compute by the hour. We sell compute by the drink. And it's just like buying electricity off the grid instead of having your own power manufacturing, your own power generating plant.
Were you surprised that Apple had to react to the iPhone question of the reception and the antenna? Were you surprised by that? Were you surprised that Steve Jobs could make a mistake like that?
I honestly don't know anything about it.
Don't avoid the question.
I don't know anything other than what I read in the press.
Come on, stop it. That's your normal way of evading questions. I don't know. What is an iPhone? Who is this Jobs? You read about it. You had to.
Yeah, I did, but all I know is what I read in the press.
So, when you read in the papers, what's your assessment?
Of the issue?
Of the iPhone issue, yes.
I find it a little surprising. It seems like to me that it could have been found in testing.
What do you think, they rushed to market?
I don't know.
Does it damage them?
No.
No.
Not at all.
You admit your mistake, you say we've tried to fix it and move on.
Yeah. Charlie, even great companies make mistakes, and you know, the key is they got to fix it.
Where are you going that we might not know anything about?
I'll tell you something that I think is probably not that apparent, but is getting a huge amount of focus inside the company. And it is apparel.
Really?
We're having a lot of sales growth in apparel. We bought a company called Zappos, which sells shoes. We already had a really good shoe business before buying Zappos. You might think, why would anybody buy shoes online? Why would anybody buy clothes online? Well, historically, clothing has always been the #1 mail order category, even pre-internet. And we make it really easy for people to try stuff on. So this is a place where
you make it easy to try stuff on.
By making it easy to return.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So you know, and we try to get people not to feel guilty about it. You know, buy 3 pairs of jeans, and return 2 of them. It's okay.
That's okay with you.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's okay with us.
Keep the one that fits.
So
Keep the one that
if
fits.
you want a preview of where we're headed with apparel, go look at the denim category. Go look at women's jeans on Amazon, and you'll see that'll give you a little insight into our future.
So part of what you hope will be happening, it already is happening in a big way, is that when people think about making a purchase, their first instinct is Amazon.
What I want is for people to feel like Amazon is the most reliable, that they have earned trust. Trust's hard-earned, easily lost. But we want to make hard promises, like if you're an Amazon Prime member, we'll get you this tomorrow or in 2 days, and we'll be very clear about it. You can pay $3.99 to get it tomorrow, or you can get it for free in 2 days. And that's a hard promise to make. And then we do a good job at keeping those promises, and that's how you earn trust. Make a hard promise, keep it. And if we can continue to earn trust, that's also what lets us branch out into new product categories, new businesses, because customers will give you the benefit of the doubt. They'll say, Amazon does a good job for me, and so, I'll try this Kindle.
You're a billionaire, they say. It's easy to figure that out. What do you think of the giving pledge?
I think it's very interesting. It's I recently saw
Bill Gates,
Bill and Melinda
Gates, and Warren Buffett.
Yeah, present on this, and I think it's a very interesting idea.
The idea is that people make a pledge, a moral pledge, not a legal pledge, to give away half of their net worth.
Yeah, half or more. Yeah, that's right.
Now, what do you think the receptivity to that is?
I don't know.
Does it interest you? Is it something that would resonate
interests
with
me.
you to know more about?
I have a lot of ideas about philanthropy that I'm not ready to share or talk about. But the philanthropy today is done. My parents are really leading the charge there today. They run the Bezos Family Foundation, and they focus mostly on early education. The pledge is an interesting idea. I don't know what reception it's getting broadly. For me, the most important thing is to figure out which models work the best. So, for one thing, I'm convinced that in many cases, for-profit models improve the world more than philanthropy models if they can be made to work. And this is, by the way, one of the things that the Gates Foundation, in my view, and I know that foundation quite a bit. Patty Stonecipher, who ran it for a long time, is
Amazon board member.
Is still an Amazon board member. And I think they are geniuses at figuring out that distinction. So let me give you an example of what I mean. They are always looking, they want to invest philanthropically in places where there are clear market failures. So vaccines need to be refrigerated.
Right.
And in the poorest places, there's no refrigeration. There's no electricity for refrigeration. So how do you distribute vaccines? Can you invent vaccines that don't need to be refrigerated? Can you invent battery-powered vaccine refrigerators? Actually, they're exploring a multitude of things along those lines. But because there's no money, it's not the kind of thing that big drug companies are going to jump on to make a vaccine that doesn't need to be refrigerated, because the bills are always going to get paid in the developed world where they do have refrigeration. So there's no upside to developing that kind of vaccine.
Right.
Kindle would be an example of something where the for-profit model is, it's driving down the cost, increasing the convenience of reading. One of the great things about the for-profit model is it's self-sustaining,
Right.
and it draws competition. So then you get other people.
So you're looking at philanthropy as a way that it can use, it
you want
can
to look
adapt.
for market failures. You want to look for places where, a lot of R&D is like this. I'm very interested in the R&D that's being done in poverty. There are a couple. Esther Duflo.
Right.
I don't know. Have you had her on your show?
No, but I
She's
know
very
about it.
interesting.
Right.
But there are several people looking at R&D into poverty, and they ask really hard questions like, why do able-bodied, highly intelligent, hard-working people stay in poverty? In fact, they've done active experiments where they will controlled experiments where they will take a population of such people, fruit vendors in India, for example, and some of them work their way out of poverty and some of them don't. And they're trying to figure out what's the difference between those two groups. An active experiment they did was, they said, is there an element of luck? So they randomly selected half of the people and they gave half of them, I think it was $500 or $1,000. It was sort of like winning the lottery. And they said, okay, so is that lottery going to be an explanatory variable for which of these people work their way out of poverty? And they found that actually wasn't that meaningful of a variable. So there's a lot of very interesting unknowns, but if sometimes I think we try to solve problems before we understand the problem. And my parents are very interested in early education, and actually funding some R&D into very young kids, even infants, where they put them in these big, superconducting brain scanning machines, and they can watch their brain. This is the kind of machine that was used to demonstrate that baby Mozart definitely does not work. But you can learn, you get very quantitative and really learn like what does work in early education. Sometimes we argue about things, as a society, we argue about things even before we know have any data.
Yeah, but it also goes back to something I believe in a lot, which is you got to ask the right questions.
Yes,
if you ask the right question, you're more likely to go in the right direction.
Yes.
All right.
You got to ask the right flavor of that right question, even.
Let me come back to one question overall that interests me: the impact of social media.
Yeah.
On consumer choice, not where they buy it, but what they choose to buy. Is that a growing phenomenon? People listening to their friends rather than some rating service, whether it's Amazon or somebody else?
Here's what I would say. I don't think it's a growing phenomenon in one sense, but in another I do. Here's the sense where I think it is growing. I think on the internet, word of mouth is more powerful than it has ever been before. And so, on the internet, everybody buys ink by the barrel. Everybody has an opinion and they share them. And so, you in blogs, on social networking sites, by email, you can easily email 10 friends something, text messages, and so on and so on. And so I think this is a very powerful and positive phenomenon for society, because I think in the past, if you were making a product, you would put the right business strategy, not necessarily the right thing for society, but the right business strategy was to put 70% of your attention, energy, and dollars into shouting about the product, marketing the product, and 30% into building a great product. And so if you could win with a mediocre product if you were a good enough marketer.
Right.
And I think that is getting harder to do. That strategy, the balance of power is shifting away from companies and toward consumers. And in the future, which I think actually isn't bad for companies, as long as they understand.
Said another way, the individual is empowered now.
The individual is getting empowered. And what companies, the right way to respond to this if you're a company is say, okay, I'm going to put the vast majority of my energy, attention, and dollars into building a great product or service, and put a smaller amount into shouting about it, marketing it. Because I know if I build a great product or service, my customers will tell each other. You have to mix in some patience with that. You're going to have to take a long-term attitude. But if you do that, I think another way to say it is maybe we're moving into a world where the truth is more on the surface. And I think that's a very healthy and good thing. It won't be without its bumps, I'm sure.
One last final question about this Kindle, the new Kindle. All right.
Tell me.
This one sells for how much?
$139 for the Kindle, that as long as you have a Wi-Fi hotspot.
Okay. For the new model that does not, that has 3G.
They're both new. They're same. And then for the 3G Go Anywhere one, works in 100 countries. The wireless works in 100 countries. It's $189.
Does this work? For $189, it'll work anywhere in the world?
Yep, 100 countries. The wireless, obviously, if the wireless
work anywhere, there's Wi-Fi.
You put 3,500 books on there, you can turn the wireless off. It'll work anywhere in the world as a reader. I'm just talking about the wireless connectivity.
Right. Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure, Charlie. As always, thank you.
Thank you.